Hey folks, just wanted to give you a heads up before this episode starts that we do discuss topics such as sexual assault in this episode. So just a warning before you start listening that this will be something that comes up. Enjoy our latest episode of Tone Deaf.
Tone Deaf is the journey of a musical theater nerd, bringing musicals into the life of their musically challenged spouse. The reactions to the musicals are real and mostly unedited. This show is for ages 14 and up, because sometimes you just need to use a swear. Now sit back, relax, and have a laugh. You're listening to Tone Deaf.
Welcome to Tone Deaf, a theater nerd's guide for their musically challenged spouse. I'm Kay, a musical theater nerd.
And I'm Warren. I'm musically challenged.
Alright, so I'm wearing a special shirt just for today.
It's black with red and white words, and there's a man on a horse, and what looks like a boy on another horse, and it says words in a language that I don't speak. But I do notice Don Quijote.
Yes. Today we're going to do Man of La Mancha. So I actually got this shirt when I was in Toledo, Spain, and it's got the opening to Don Quijote by Miguel Cervantes. So.
What does it say?
Well, I can't read it upside down, really.
You can't read it upside down and in Spanish?
En un lugar de la Mancha, de cu tiempo que vivía un...
Hey, you're in it. Kay.
Jesus. Alrighty, so... the Man of La Mancha is... This is going to be another one of those sandwich shows, like adaptation sandwiches. So it's based on I, Don Quijote, which is a teleplay, or play specifically filmed for television, which was also based on Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. The book was by Dale Wasserman, and music and lyrics were by Joe Darian and Mitch Lay. This is not a faithful rendition of the book. Do not use this on a book report. You will fail.
Duly noted.
Yes, I do not know that from experience. I'm just, it's not accurate.
So, okay, because isn't Don Quixote, isn't the book pretty long? It's
2 volumes, basically.
Gotcha.
It's a long book. It's one of the first modern novels. But this is about Man of La Mancha, not about Don Quixote, so...
Sorry.
It's
Tangent,
alright.
The podcast.
I will try not to go on a tangent there. It took a lot, by the way, to not go onto a tangent of the history of television for this episode. Much like with the Peter Pan episode, where I really wanted to go into, the history of using kinescopes and stuff.
So a funny thing that you listeners might find it as hilarious as I do is Kay is a research junkie, and every now and then she will get a bug and she'll research something, and she will go down the rabbit hole of researching until she knows everything about it. And it's so when she says I'm going to try really hard to not divulge X, Y, or Z, just know she really wants to, because she just read about it and she wants to share it with you. But then we would be here all night.
I cannot wait until we do the Scientology pageant episode.
What?
We'll get to that. Okay, so, like I said, this was based on a 1959 teleplay, which was written by Dale Wasserman. Wasserman had originally wanted this to be titled Man of La Mancha, the teleplay, but DuPont Corporation, who produced it, were like, no, people won't know what La Mancha is, so there's the title I, Don Quixote. Which I'm kind of like, well, if anyone has a slight awareness of anything, Man of La Mancha, well, maybe La Mancha is a region in Spain. So that means that, anyway, Because if you're not going to know La Mancha, you're not going to know Don Quixote, you monsters.
Hey, excuse me. I knew Don Quixote, but I didn't know La Mancha.
But you could have at least inferred, right? If you read Man of La Mancha and you were aware of Don Quixote, as in, like, you knew what you were signing up for when you were watching a show, then you'd be like, oh, okay.
I guess, like, if you just said, when you hear Man of La Mancha, what do you think? I would go, well, that sounds like a romantic language, so somewhere in Europe, maybe Italy, this probably would have been my first guess.
Okay, fair. I'm just, like, they went with, oh, well, they'll know Don Quixote, but not La Mancha, and it's like, if people are tuning in for that, then you know, at the time, it's not like we had other, like, formats outside of ballet or theater for people to reference.
Well, to be fair, an American who saw Don Quixote spelled out and didn't know how to pronounce it would call it Don Quijote or something like that.
Fair. I'm sitting here going, come on, DuPont. Yes, we are a dumb country, but we're not that. Anyway. I have my own beef with DuPont that
Bastard.
I could go into later.
Screw you, DuPont.
The DuPont Corporation. Yeah. Anyway, so after this tangent, after a
No more tangents.
No more tangents. After an unsuccessful attempt of translating the play from TV to stage, which, that can be a little difficult, it was suggested by the guy who ended up directing the musical version of Man of La Mancha / Don Quixote, Albert Marr, that they instead adapt the teleplay to a musical. So the show uses less string instruments than most shows of the time, and they actually tried to go with a more flamenco feel.
So not flamingo?
Not flamingo.
Flamenco.
Flamenco. So the first production was performed in 1965 at the Goodspeed Opera House in Connecticut. We've had some other shows with premiere at the show. Yes?
I laugh at names. Goodspeed. How did they settle on the name Goodspeed? Is there a bad speed? Is there a mid-speed? Is there, okay. No more tangents. Please continue, Kay.
So, we would have had Rex Harrison as our lead for this. But
he was My Fair Lady, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm learning.
Rex Harrison is great and all, but
as Don Quixote, you don't think he would do well?
Once you hear the music, you will see that no, he would not have done very well.
He probably would have done the Spanish character in an English accent
and like, to dream the impossible dream, to right the unspeakable wrongs. He wouldn't have sung it, is what I'm saying. So this show ran for 22 performances at previews, and then had an off-Broadway opening in November of the same year, of 1965. In 1968, in March, it actually moved to Broadway. It started at the Martin Square Theater before moving to the Eden Theater in 1971. It had its final move in May of 1971 at the Mark Hellinger Theater, having run for 2,328 performances on Broadway.
Wow.
It picked up 5 Tony Awards.
Nice.
Picked up Best Musical, Best Leading Actor in a Musical, Best Direction of a Musical, Best Original Score, and Best Scenic Design.
This was in the 70s?
This was in the 70s. And I mentioned scenic design because the stage version, it's different from what we'll see in the movie. The stage version only has one set, really, and that one set is a dungeon.
Ugh.
And it will make sense after we see the movie.
That's a sad phrase to hear. Oh, the dungeon will make sense later.
Well, it will.
Dungeon.
Before we get into that, I will say that this does fictionalize a part of Cervantes' life when he had a tax issue, if I remember right, and got himself in some trouble. So they do reference that in the opening and closing of this show. The show's been translated a lot, especially due to the popularity of one of the songs, The Impossible Dream. This song was a standard for a long time because of this show, and Man of La Mancha has been performed in at least 18 other languages, as well as 9 of the dialects in Spanish.
Oh, wow.
Which there are a lot of dialects in Spanish. We're going to be watching the 1972 version, and I had to go with this one because of our need for closed captionings for both of us. But this isn't the best version that exists. This is just the most accessible version. Other ones that I could find were YouTube that were different levels of quality, and the movie is close enough to the stage play that I felt that we could still watch it and get the proper feel from it, though I'll go into some of the differences in a minute.
But it is a musical movie, right?
It is a musical movie, which, let me get to that part, because we had some issues with production of the movie. Albert Marr, the director of the stage play, had never directed film before.
Oh.
And film direction, much like film acting, is very different from direction for theater. And Marr ended up using the budget for screen testing the leads, which he was not supposed to do, and he used up quite a bit of the budget, so he got fired. And they brought in Peter Glenville, who is the reason that Peter O'Toole is cast as Don Quixote, which, whatever.
Not a fan?
He can't sing.
Okay.
So this is going to be another one of those shows that's dubbed.
Okay.
And you may remember Peter O'Toole from Lawrence of Arabia.
I actually haven't seen that.
Okay, we'll watch that at some point. So Glenville also wanted to get rid of all of the songs, much to Peter O'Toole's delight. And then Glenville got fired for removing most of the songs, much to O'Toole's displeasure.
So to take a musical, make it into a movie musical, then they're going to get rid of all the songs and just make it a movie.
Mm-hmm. Into a dramatic movie. And the thing about Don Quixote is there is quite a bit of satire in it, because it kind of satirizes the idea of chivalry. So when you're trying to take all the musical and the... I don't quite know the word to describe it, but when you're trying to turn Don Quixote into a super serious story, I mean, this story is still serious, but there's humor with it. And a lot of the humor comes in the song numbers and stuff like that for Man of La Mancha. If you're taking that out, then it kind of is like, well, okay then. And Peter O'Toole wanted it to be more dramatic. He wanted more of the Lawrence of Arabia, more of the I am a serious actor thing, instead of I'm in a musical.
Because he can't sing.
Because he can't sing. And so Glenville was replaced by Hillier, who brought back Wasserman, Arthur Hillier. And they ended up dubbing in Simon Gilbert at Peter O'Toole's suggestion, because he was like, okay, well, I'll help you find some people to dub in, folks. Here's a fun fact, though. The original choreographer for Cats, Gillian Lynn, choreographed the movie of Man of La Mancha.
Nice.
So this will be kind of it won't be cat dancing, but it'll still be good dancing.
Okay, I was going to ask if there's going to be an orgy in this one.
Not an orgy, but there's a scene that makes you pretty uncomfortable.
Yay!
It's musicals. Everything is testing boundaries of comfort. So this movie, like I said, is going to be a little different from the stage play. the opening's going to be different, and we'll talk about that change after we see the show, because they do add stuff to it that wasn't originally in there. There were also 2 songs cut from the show, What Does He Want of Me and To Each His Dulcinea. Dulcinea's the female lead for this show.
Her name is Milk?
Well, sweet. Like, because leche would be milk, so dulce would be sweet.
Wow.
So...
Wow. I took Spanish, too.
It's okay.
Wow.
It's okay, Warren.
Here I try to make a joke and all I do is go...
So, the movie wasn't well received.
Oh, sad.
Yeah, critics hated this. You'll like this line, though, from the Times review, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. So, they end up dragging not just one musical, but 2 musicals, by saying that The Impossible Dream was surely the most mercilessly lachrymose hymn to empty-headed optimism since Carousel's You'll Never Walk Alone.
Oh, God. They're comparing it to Carousel.
This show is better than Carousel, so I don't agree with it.
We've been through anything is better than Carousel.
Really?
Anything.
Grease?
Grease is better than Carousel. Okay. Tangents over. We're gonna get to Carousel one day, and it's gonna be a special event.
That was a big sigh from our dog.
Yeah, our dog is not thrilled with my melodramaticness.
So, like I said, though, we're seeing that because this version of the show doesn't have the best singing and doesn't have the best acting, but it's the most accessible for us, and I really wish that we could have seen the version with Brian Stokes Mitchell, because he is a brilliant actor and singer, and it would have also been a nice introduction for you for him, but we'll get to him later. So, we're gonna go watch Man of La Mancha and take a brief intermission, and then we'll be back with Warren's thoughts on how it compares to Carousel.
Woo!
Alright, before we get to Warren's review of this show, we want to take a quick moment and just thank our Playbill and stage crew sponsors.
Our Playbill sponsor, Jasmine Wu, and our stage crew sponsor, Bianucci. Thank you both so much for your continued patronage and support of our humble little podcast.
We really, truly appreciate everything you've done for us, you guys. Thank you so much. Now, let's listen to a brief ad from one of our favorite podcasts called History on Blast.
Hello, and welcome to History on Blast. I'm Hillary, and I'll be your host as we call out history. Every other week, we'll be putting a different person, place, time, or event on blast for the shit that they pulled. This ain't your grandpa's history podcast, so if this sounds like your cup of harbor tea, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast catcher.
Welcome to the promo episode for Podcast Reviews Podcast, the podcast in which I review the reviews of my podcast. This is a promo, but it's also a full-length episode to show you kind of what the show's about and like. So if this is in your regular feed that you're hearing this is actually also going out to a bunch of other podcasts who are swapping promos in 60-second spots with me, so I put their promo on my podcast later. So this is a promo/episode to tell you what the show's about. If you already know, then thank you for listening and being a listener, but if you don't, my show called Podcast Reviews Podcast is about reviewing people's reviews of my show, Podcast Reviews Podcast. I go to iTunes, and every time I look at the reviews, I read and rate your reviews of my show about the podcast. I'm almost out of 60 seconds are up, so check out my show in iTunes, rate and review it, Podcast Reviews Podcast, and we'll see you next week.
And now, the lights are going down and the music is starting back up, so let's hop into the second act of the show. Okay, Warren, so what'd you think?
Hear me now, oh the nerdy and geeky among you, those more versed in theater than me. I am Warren, the uncultured co-host of Tone Deaf, and I have a review for thee. Hopefully that didn't break anyone's eardrums through either volume or terribleness. So,
oh my lord.
Man of La Mancha, or as I dubbed it, Man of the Munchies, because he is an old man who is off his rocker. He has been taking some type of substance and has gone on a walkabout seeking adventure. Man of the Munchies, it was good. I liked it.
Man of the Munchies.
It was different.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely different. I enjoyed it though.
I'm glad.
I enjoyed it though. I liked it better than Grease.
Good.
And yeah. And,
liked it better than Carousel.
The show that shall not be named. So, Man of the Munchie starts out good with an Eyes Wide Shut number. Oh, it's a play with a douchebag cardinal declaring someone a heretic. Everybody was in. At first I thought it was masquerade stuff. I was not quite sure what was going on initially, and then it becomes clear that, it's a performance, and someone's being put on trial for being a heretic.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed almost like he was doing a play of Don Quijote in the beginning, because he had almost the Don Quixote masking character.
So I'm not 100% sure who he was trying to be.
Okay, that's okay.
Because I'm not sure if it's a nod to one of the other novels or not, because this is not in the play.
Oh, the intro part.
The intro part is not in the play.
Okay.
It starts in the dungeon.
Okay, so I guess in the source material, does it focus on Cervantes and he's telling the story? So it's from the perspective of Don Quixote as he's on his adventure.
Yeah, it's the story. It's just his satire of chivalry in the story.
Gotcha. Well,
like I said, don't use this musical for a book report.
That's wise advice, Kay. So Cervantes is a poet and a playwright and an actor who is, arrested by the Inquisition for Inquisition-y things, just general non-compliance with the status quo. So, yeah, he gets arrested, and one thing I thought was funny is during the course of the opening theater bit, is you have one of the guys says, "No man may read the Bible or determine God's word but the friars," and it's, "Yes, how dare you try to get closer to God by reading his word, which we tell you is true! Except most of you can't read. Priests can read, but not you filthy peasants."
That totally didn't lead to a Reformation, and
Martin Luther, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Martin Luther's nailing 95 reasons he was mad at the church to the... Anyway,
we digress. And then, so Cervantes gets arrested, but at least he has a nice blue coat and a kick-ass beard. I dug his coat. I would like a coat like that. Blue's my favorite color, and even though it was a little bit dirty, seen some wear and tear from its use, it was a nice coat. I was kind of focused on that coat, not gonna lie. The dude has style, so... Cervantes' merry band of Inquisition escorted adventurers runs into the "Bring out your dead" cart from Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail. I assume that was a cart full of people who have died of the plague because,
or it was
medieval.
might have been getting
Oh!
carted out of that
Yeah,
prison,
I
so
did-
it's all
I didn't make that connection until
quote
just
unquote
now.
heretics.
Yeah, murdered heretics.
It's his future, but not really, because
Mm.
also don't use this play for a biography on Cervantes.
There we go. What? You mean Hollywood is not historically accurate?
Nor Broadway.
Nor Broadway. So Cervantes... Yes, so Cervantes is sent to prison, and, sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. So Cervantes goes into the Inquisition keep, and the first thing I noticed was, hey, they have a water wheel. At least the Inquisition believes in clean energy, stained with the blood of heretics. Cervantes meets the merry band of underground dwellers and smellers who proceed to ransack the two new residents. Oh no, we'll only be here an hour or two. While getting acquainted with their new roommates, Cervantes is put on trial by the governor and the duke, who seem to be the kings of nothing. They're the self-appointed rulers of the prison pigpen.
When the governor was introduced, I was half expecting a Walking Dead joke. So
I thought about that.
Okay.
I really did. I really did think about that, but then I went the other way.
You
So,
zagged.
I
You
zagged. I
on
zagged
me.
when you thought I would zig. Cervantes... Okay, Cervantes gets put on trial, and he distracts them by basically recounting them with I am not a bad playwright, and here's why. And he puts on a entertainment to distract them and prove that he's a good playwright. We get to meet Don Quixote and his lovable sidekick Sancho,
Mm-hmm.
and as they're 2 minutes down the road, Don Quixote spots a great evil in the middle of a field. He charges forth against the evil giant windmill. He fights valiantly to prevent the foul abomination. The great enchanter transformed the horrible giant into a cancer-causing windmill. To prevent Don Quixote from an honorable victory. Luckily, there is an inn nearby where Don can recuperate after his arduous battle. Thank God for small miracles, eh, Donnie? This thing is touchy and I keep getting skipped ahead in my notes. Oh, as they go to the keep to recover after arduous battle with the evil giant windmill, luckily Aldonza is there to serve all the respectful and clean clientele. Ugh.
Yeah.
That poor old fool. After making a grand entrance, he hits the doorframe and gets knocked off his noble steed. That was a great scene with Don Quixote being like, we expected a dwarf to mount the ramparts and mount the wall and proclaim our arrival. All the dwarves are busy. It's like, all right, that's great. Don offers his services to the clean, respectful patrons of this fine establishment. His eyes fall upon Aldonza, who he seems to fall maddeningly in love with. Aldonza has been burned before, but this sweet old geezer seems to be softening her jagged edges. Aldonza is now Dulcinea. Dulcinea, thank you. Dulcinea, and Dulcinea has no idea what to think. What's Grandpa's angle? Her eyes seem to say. He may be crazy, but he's as noble and kind as they come. Cut to, we have Donnie's niece and the housekeeper seeking comfort from the priest for the woe that fills their hearts. After all, they're only thinking of him. Because they have that whole song, they're only thinking of him, they're only thinking of him. Duke Douche plays the niece's fiancé, a man who carries his own importance as if he fears of breaking it. I did not like that character at all. He was a douchebag to the end, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, he was a needed bad guy.
Yeah.
Because his character was a little interesting, because he's the prosecutor, essentially, in the prison trial, but in the quote-unquote, well, I don't want to say so in the story, in the Don Quixote story, he's the well-educated fiance of Don Quixote's niece, and he initially is like, I don't know if I want to marry you if I'm going to inherit a crazy uncle. And they're like, but there's money involved if you do marry her. And he's like, I do like money. Maybe I could help cure this old codger, and then I'll get his fortune.
Yeah.
The fiancé and the priest agree to try and cure Quixote of his madness. And then we cut back to the Don Quixote story, and Sancho relates a love letter to Dulcinea. Did I say no?
Dulcinea.
Yeah, Dulcinea. God, I can't.
Dulcinea.
Yeah. My fat American tongue can't say things. So Sancho relates a love letter to Dulcinea, but neither of them can read. But luckily, Don had recited the entire thing to Sancho, who committed it to memory, so he may recite it to Dulcinea, who is not impressed, by the way. She takes Sancho aside and asks him why he follows him, and Sancho has a simple response: I like him! I really like him! Which Sancho is just an awesome wingman, I may say.
He is the best character in the whole show.
He's a great character. He is just honorable. He's very selfless. He genuinely cares about I can't remember his real name, but Don Quixote. He genuinely cares about him, and he's always got his back. He's a good guy. It would be really easy for him to turn tail and run and leave the old man to his fate, but no. He is there in his corner. He has his back. Sancho wins the Wingman Award. I will say that. Quixote is thrilled to receive the gossamer washcloth of Dulcinea, but swelling in his heart is cut abrupt with the arrival of the dreaded barber who bears the golden helmet of Mambrino. For after all, there can be no helm like thee. I do love when Quixote is pacing in the courtyard of the castle/inn, and Sancho comes up to him and he's like, oh, what? Did you give her the missive? Yes, I gave her the missive. What of the token? And then Sancho hands him, like, sheepishly this raggedy, worn washcloth, and Don Quixote takes it with, like, this reverent grace, and is just like, gossamer, it's just so beautiful. I am just taken away. He presses it against his face and leans into it, and he's just like so thrilled to get this grimy, disgusting washcloth and rub it all over his face. But the scene with the barber was freaking great. The barber comes in and he's like, man, I could make a fortune shaving all of you unwashed heathens or whatever. And I just love... And this was when I first noticed that Don Quixote has that corkscrew sword. I freaking love that.
Yeah.
That is the greatest thing. Because I'm like, how the hell do you make that? You have to heat the metal and then bend it in order to make that happen. But I just love that he's got this corkscrew sword, because it's like, couldn't kill anybody with that. I guess you could hack somebody with it, but he got the threatening gesture with it. He's like, you have this helm, I want it, it'll make me brave, and blah blah blah. And he's like, it's a wash basin. It's a wash basin for when I wash people and give them trims. That scene was great. And then after he dons his new golden helm and feels the power of the wash basin flow into him, Donny Boy confesses to the lord of the castle that he has never been dubbed a knight, and requests that at dawn he receive the boon of knighthood, since he has met the checklist of requirements, and exceeds them, in fact, by being bonkers. The fiancé and priest show up to Crazy Land sporting funeral garb and a quest line for Donnie to complete. Donnie must defeat the great enchanter to save the man who is turned to stone. This angers Dulcinea, who sees the man made of stone get up and shake off his apparent petrification, and they all seem to be like, man, that guy is crazy. We should hopefully be able to snap him out with our little ploy. And Dulcinea, I think out of everybody in this entire show, I feel really bad for her.
Yeah.
More than anybody, because she's just born into a really, really shitty situation, and she's constantly hounded by these grimy, filthy men who are just trying to bang her, you know?
Yeah.
And you get the one big hulking guy who basically forces his money into her hand. Like, take this or else.
Yeah.
And it was just like, ugh. Like, just, like, being a person in that time, it's like, would it be better to stab these assholes with a knife and then go to prison and die? Or to just constantly let them do this?
Yeah.
It's just...
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it's...
I think if I was a woman in that time, I wouldn't have lived very long because I would have just started cutting off people's dicks. I mean... I'm just... I'm just saying, I have issues with rape. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. No, the same here.
So, this scene, I hate this scene. Little bird Dulcinea gets ambushed by Horn Dog Squad and their alpha prick leader, Douchey McHookhand. And those scenes, I hate those scenes so much. I want to jump into the TV with an axe and just swing at those people. Dulcinea gets upset when Don Quixote proclaims his love of service for her and his dedication to her name and glory. Dulcinea is not impressed. Or is she? Like, what would it be like to be this woman who has constantly had asshole after asshole trying to force himself on her, and then this really sweet, bonkers old man just shows up and treats her like she is the sun and the moon and the stars and heaven. It's like she's just of the mind of, oh, he just wants to have sex with me like every other man. But he's like, oh, I just want to serve you, and I want to fight in your name, and I want to bring honor to you, and it's just, this show gives me emotions.
That's the point of this show.
Yeah.
It's doing its job.
And then, while Donnie is talking to Dulcinea about how he just wants to fight in her name and bring her honor and make her proud, basically, Pedro, or should I say, Douchey McHookhand, comes down to Dulcinea while she's talking to Donnie, and he's very unimpressed that his whore is not performing her whorely duties. He slaps Dulcinea, which sends Donnie into a chivalry-fueled rage, one in which he, Sancho, and Dulcinea fight off the band of bastards. It's a great scene. I love it, because the only three decent people in the whole inn are fighting off a pack of assholes.
Yeah.
And then I love afterwards, it's like, victory! Victory? Victory!
Yes!
Same word with 3 different punctuations. I love it. And then the Lord of the Castle, or Castaneo? Is that how it is?
I think that was how, yeah.
Castaneo, after performing his valiant battle against the insurmountable forces, dubs Donnie a true knight of the woeful countenance. Dulcinea goes to tend to the wounds of the defeated enemy at the objection of the noble knight, and for good reason, since the defeated band of bastards are, well, a band of bastards, and proceed to subdue and prepare to violate Dulcinea, only to have the alpha douche McHookhand tell them to pack up and take her with them. I hate this. I hate this so much. She should not have gone, and now we're going to be... I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like that scene. It makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And fills me with chivalry-fueled murder rage, I guess, is the only way to put it.
I want to say I was like 9 or 10 when I first saw this.
When I had talked to my mom earlier and just mentioned that we were going to be watching that for our show, and she was like, oh, I love that. I saw that when I was 7, and I really enjoyed it. And as we're watching this, I'm just like, there's 2 almost rape scenes.
See, and the second scene is a rape, like canon-wise.
In the book and everything?
Yes, it is a rape. And so when I was, I want to say I was 10 when I saw this. Maybe I was 11, but I was not quite yet. My innocence hadn't completely gone from me. But this was one of those things where it was like, oh, what the... Because we were having fun, and then this happened.
Yeah.
And, Mom? Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
She had to kind of sit me down and explain that one, and oof. Yeah, that's you hear the song Little Bird out of context, and you don't realize what the context is, and then when you see it, you're just like, "Gah, I hate the song now.
Hey, rape song.
I hate the song so much now."
Yeah, I didn't really like the song to begin with, and now I extra don't like the song. Anyway, after the scene that we won't talk about, we then cut to the prison, and Cervantes has a brief moment of baring his soul to his fellow inmates after one of their number was taken away for questioning. He has a great monologue about reality. He talks about how he's been a soldier and a slave, and he's held dying men in his arms, and he's seen friends die, and he's seen, just all the grime and filth of the world.
Yeah.
And you call that reality. And he talks about how imagination is more important because it gives dreams and it gives hope.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a great line that I love. And he said, and one of the guys says, you need more sanity, something to that extent. And he says, maybe too much sanity is madness.
Yep.
And I like that line. So, good on you, Cervantes. Have some imagination. As Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than intellect. So, if Albert Einstein said it, and Cervantes said it, then we should all agree with them. Afterwards, we cut back to the story with Don Quixote. Donnie and Sancho run into Dulcinea on the road after they leave the inn, and I was very glad that they ran into her, because I was worried that she would just be taken with the Muellers and, raped forever.
Never to be seen
again. Or maybe they'd find her dead body on the road, or something equally horrible. But it seems like either she escaped or the Muellers dumped her. One of the two. But they run into Dulcinea, who, luckily at least, is not with the Muellers anymore. I mean, she obviously was abused, and she's very mad at Donnie, who sees her as Dulcinea still. The reunion is cut short by a squad of real knights in shiny armor who proceed to spit upon the Don Quixote. And one of them tells him it is the enchanter disguised as a knight, and he is actually the Knight of Mirrors and is trying to get in your head, Donnie. Don't believe him. Stay strong. You are a knight, one of true noble worth. So when Don Quixote is not arguing, but telling Dulcinea that, no, you're my lady, or Dulcinea, you're Dulcinea, and she has her song of, no, I'm a filthy whore, I was born on a dung heap, I'll die on a dung heap, I'm just a whore, look at me, see me as I am. And when the knights show up, they're rocking some swagger, they look like they're in some expensive new suits, and when they pull out their mirrored shields, I was like, hey, that's not fair, you're directing the sun into his eyes. I thought there was going to actually be a bit of a duel, but they just all encircle him, and they basically mind screw him.
They make him see.
They make him look into the mirror. See, you're just an old fool. You're just an old fool. You're not a knight. And it works. He passes out. He falls onto the floor, and we don't really see the transition, but we cut to him in his home. So they obviously picked him up and took him home, and he is in his bed, unresponsive. He seems like he's kind of dying. His health is very poor. And Donnie is broken, and so is Cervantes. The Inquisition is coming for him soon, so he has just enough time to improvise an ending to his play. Donnie is dead of the mind, and Sancho comes to visit. Just a few words, a little chat of this and that, and he's able to snap the Lord of the Land out, and he brings back Don Quixote for just a no, it wasn't that.
No, he brings back.
He brings him out of his state, and he gives him the right name. I can't remember what Alfonso
Quijana, I think.
Yeah, Alfonso Quijana, and they're like, okay. He's back, everything's okay, but his health is still really poor. and he tells the priest that he wants to make a will. And so the priest comes back, and he's like, okay, you can just tell me and I'll write it down. And he starts giving his last will and testaments and starts bequeathing his possessions when Dulcinea breaks in. Sorry, where I have it in here. So Sancho snaps Donnie out of his stupor. He decides to make a will, and in the middle of it, Dulcinea bursts in and reminds him of his manhood. Don Quixote is reborn for 15 seconds before he dies.
Yep.
It was kind of sad because I thought maybe it would be a ride off into the sunset type of ending for Don Quixote, but no, he's got his arm around Sancho and his arm around Dulcinea, and they're talking about how they're gonna go out and do more adventures, and then he just kind of collapses and is dead.
Yeah.
And the thought that came to mind was just like, wow, nice job, lady, you killed an old man. Now they're going to arrest you and try you as a witch.
Oh.
Would have fit the time. And Dulcinea and Sancho have a moment outside of Don Quixote's manor, and I thought it was cool when Sancho goes to call her Aldonza, and she's like, Dulcinea, and stuff, and he's like, Dulcinea. So I thought that was cool. That was cool. That at least the positive thing. I don't know what it's like in the source material, but I at least liked that even though everybody around Alfonso, Don Quixote, thought he was just a whacked out old codger doing this, he was able to inspire this woman who has been through hell. Yes. And he was able to put a fire inside of her and help her realize that she is better than what those around her said she was. Yes. And so I really, really, really liked that aspect of it, that she basically goes walking away and she's kind of like... And there was some interesting... I don't know if it was intentional or if it's just my perception, but there was some interesting imagery with the fire. I don't know what the fire was in the back. They were burning something. I don't know if it was his night stuff.
I'm not 100% sure what it was.
But it was at least some of the... I don't know. And I might be just seeing more than there is actually there. But when I saw that scene, to me, it kind of had this sense of a phoenix rising from the ashes kind of thing. So, like, they had the fire, stuff is being destroyed. Aldonza has cast aside her old identity and adopted this new identity. Yeah. And she is moving forward with her life as a new person, as a better person because of her meeting Don Quixote. So I thought that was a really good bit. And then she basically walks off into the horizon, and we cut back to the dungeon. And it is time. We are in the prison where they finally come for Cervantes, who's going to his questioning. And as he dons his coat and grabs his manuscript, he says goodbye to his fellow prisoners, and they sing the Knight's Quest, I think is what the song might be called.
Impossible Dream.
Impossible Dream, okay. So they sing Impossible Dream to him as he climbs the stairs to his questioning. And it was good. It was a good scene. It did kind of leave... It was very vague in the ending. It kind of left a bit of an ominous tone. It to me, at least, him ascending the stairs from the dungeon to go to his questioning, and then it goes straight to the credits there. It was almost had the feel of a man bravely marching to his death. Yeah. So I don't know if that was the tone they were going for, but that's the way I interpreted it.
Yeah, because, I mean, he lives after that.
Which is good. Good for you, Cervantes.
Yeah. So, you enjoyed that one? I
did. I kind of just went and went and went. I don't know if you have anything you would like to add.
So I was sitting here going, wait, was this in the source material? Because it's been forever. And actually, the Dulcinea stuff is kind of weird. So I will have to take some time and see if I can recall. Because I was sitting here going, I remember some of the stuff with her being inaccurate and other stuff not, and now I'm questioning whether or not they went that hard with regards to the men in the inn or not, because the muleteer, who's Pedro, is definitely in it, and Dulcinea is definitely in it, so it's one of those things where I'm falling into the trap of using this play as a book report. So it will probably be because I do also want to have us watch the stage play at some point. I just don't know when we'll get to.
Hey, I'm totally down with us treading over stuff we've already done
Yeah.
to see a different version of it.
Yeah, because the play is... It's... I mean, it's close to the movie, but it's not 100% the same as the movie, because the play, like, it is set in that dungeon, so they're using those set pieces, which you kind of see in the flashbacks to when they're in the dungeon, where, like, the two men are dressed as the horse, and...
So in the stage version, the whole thing just takes place in the dungeon from beginning to end?
Yes, they are in the dungeon using different objects, like, to be the inn, or using the props and costumes that he had.
I wonder how they do the windmill.
I saw it on... So when I saw it, it was on stage. I've seen the movie, too, and I can't remember which one I saw first, because I've seen the stage play a couple of times, and it depends on the theater.
Gotcha. So it's just, there's not a set format for doing it?
I don't believe
it's largely
so.
Open to however they want to do it?
Because, I mean, it's kind of like if you were to do, say, well, we haven't seen it yet, but if you were to do Ragtime at the Hale Center Theater, you might have more resources than, say, doing Ragtime at one of the community amphitheaters that wouldn't have
makes sense
quite the resources.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, just it depends on the place. But yeah, I do want to do another watch of this with the I want to watch the stage version of this. It would almost be interesting, and so there is a tape of what this is based on, like the adaptation of Cervantes' Don Quixote, the I, Don Quixote. There is a tape of the teleplay, but I have a feeling that it's one of those you have to, like, go to the where is it stored? I had it written down.
The library?
Well, it's kind of, it's one of the film,
do we have to break into the film archive?
No, we don't.
Have to pull a Mission Impossible?
No.
Dun, 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 dun.
But it's one of those things that I'm kind of like, I kind of want to see that too, because it's basically Man of La Mancha without music. So it's
more of a straight play.
Yeah, it's more of a straight play, but not the dramatic reimagining that I think Peter O'Toole was thinking he was going to be cast in.
So is this supposed to be more comedic, I guess?
It's a satire.
Well, satire, yeah. Okay.
It kind of killed the knights and ladies genre at the time, because it sort of held a mirror up to it and was like, oh, look at how silly this is, and people were like, oh god, look at how silly this is, when it wasn't really supposed to do that.
Well, see, and me personally, like, I mean, it almost sounds like a little self-gratifying. I consider myself to be a somewhat chivalrous person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I have manners and respect for women and stuff like that, and I have my own personal honor that I abide by. So I definitely really liked the Don Quixote character and just
Yeah.
how he's noble, and in the face of adversity and in the face of ridicule, he sticks to his values and he sticks to what he views as right.
Yeah.
Even though he does steal a wash basin from a poor barber.
Yeah.
And he assaults some poor windmill that was just minding its own business, causing cancer to nearby passerbys.
Windmill cancer hadn't been invented yet.
Oh, okay.
Also, I absolutely refuse to compare the amazing knight-errant that is Don Quixote to you-know-who. So...
You know what's funny is before we watched this,
Mhm.
I had told you this, but I don't think we told our wonderful, lovely listeners.
Mhm.
My first exposure to Don Quixote was from the PBS show Wishbone, because they covered Don Quixote in that, and that's what I remember the most. Is if I remember correctly, Wishbone was Sancho.
Mhm.
He was, and I remember charging the windmill. Except if I remember correctly, in that one, as he's charging the windmill, he just gets hit by it and just falls off his horse.
Yes.
And yeah,
Oh, I miss Wishbone.
Wishbone was
That
great.
was such a great show.
Little Jack Russell Terrier.
Yeah, he was a good boy.
But this show was good. I actually liked it quite a bit.
I'm really glad.
I liked. I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I guess to a certain extent, I guess the reason I liked it is I kind of identified personally with both Cervantes and Don Quixote,
Mhm.
because I identified a bit with Cervantes' desire to shine a light on the bullcrap of the world through
Mhm.
his poetry and through his theater, just pointing out, hey, this is dumb, this makes no sense,
Yeah.
kind of thing, which earned him a trip to the Inquisition, you
Mhm.
know, because he's challenging the status quo. And then, of course, Don Quixote with his rejection of reality as it was and trying to make sense of it in his own way.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So this is probably higher up
Mhm.
than other ones
Oh,
on
I'm glad.
on my list. It'd be interesting every so often, like we'll just go through and rank these and like give them some arbitrary number and see where certain ones
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was good. I'm glad we did this one.
Maybe next Weber week we'll try and do a ranking.
Maybe.
All right, so since next week is the anniversary of my 31st year in a corporeal form, or I guess my 31st anniversary of being in a corporeal form and being this human shell, we're going to be doing kind of a weird show, but I want us to do it because my favorite band is the one behind this show. So you're looking at me very odd.
Because we've been making jokes in a different way about it being your 31st rotation around the sun on the starship Earth, and then you took it in a very different way, unexpected.
That's me.
That's you.
Gotta zig. Gotta always zig when they want me to zag.
Oh, you surprised me.
It's my non-binary bi experience. Gotta keep you guessing.
Who are you again?
Well, okay, not that bad. Speaking of though, you led into a great transition for me, because we are going to be covering the Who's rock opera, Tommy.
Who's rock opera?
The Who's.
Who's rock opera?
Yeah, the Who's. They're my favorite band.
But whose rock opera is it?
It's the Who's rock opera. What's on second, I dunno's on third.
So is it Thomas the Tank Engine?
No,
The musical opera?
that's going to be later, actually, that we'll do that one. But that's not the Who. That's another Weber week. But I'm not joking, by the way. But anyway,
There's a Thomas the Tank Engine musical.
I'm so excited. But we're not doing that one. We're going to do the Who's Tommy. We're going to do the movie. So I'm sorry in advance.
When did the movie come out?
1975.
Okay.
Yes, we'll be doing the movie of Tommy, and then if I can find it, we'll do the stage version as well that we'll talk about in our next episode. But yeah, we're gonna do the Who's Tommy for my birthday.
Who's Tommy? Who? I don't know who Tommy is. Do you know a Tommy, audience listeners?
Oh, that's funny because that song hadn't been written yet. Anyway.
Things that Warren doesn't know. Number 487,362.
So thank you guys so much for listening. We're, again, just thank you. We love seeing your ratings. We love the reviews. We've actually had a couple of people join up in the Podcast Junkie Discord chat.
Which has been really
that
cool.
are fans, and it's just really awesome. If you want to join that awesome community, the link will be in the description as well as on our Twitter, which is @ToneDeafMusical.
Yeah, give us a shout out on there. Ask us questions. You can say you agree with my wise synopsis of all the musicals, or you can say that I'm an idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about. Like either opinion is valid.
You can also catch us on Facebook @ToneDeafMusical. We have a Patreon, which is also Tone Deaf Musical.
Yep, you can email us at tonedeafmusical@gmail.com if you are so inclined. Please do it.
And if you have suggestions for shows and ways to source them, if they're ones that aren't widely known, or if you know of any in the Utah area that are being performed that you'd be like, hey, you guys should do this, and, you know, I want to see an episode about it, then let us know. Shoot us an email, because we don't bite, we promise. We're just a pair of very socially anxious millennials, elder millennials.
Elder millennials.
So that's it for this week. Once again, thank you guys so much. I'm Kay.
I'm Warren.
And this has been Tone Deaf.